Hello, good morning friends. Welcome back to your favorite channel Code One Digest. Today in this tutorial, I am going to show you how can you create a NestJS project from scratch to upload file to S3 bucket. How can you access S3 bucket in NestJS project? How can you upload file to S3 bucket using NestJS project? NestJS is a JavaScript framework to write a backend application built on top of TypeScript that is built on top of JavaScript. Okay, so we'll use NestJS to interact with S3 bucket and we'll upload a file to S3 bucket. It is very simple tutorial. If you want to learn NestJS, if you want to learn AWS S3 bucket, then this is a tutorial for you. So watch this tutorial till end. It is going to be very informative and very exciting tutorial for you. Okay friends, in previous tutorial I have explained how to set up S3 bucket simple storage service from scratch. How can you create S3 bucket, what all permissions are required, what all steps are required to create S3 bucket, what all configurations are required to create S3 bucket. So go and watch that tutorial if you want to learn how to create S3 bucket from scratch. Okay friends, so now we have created bucket. Now what we'll do is we'll create an IAM user to access this file. Okay, so let's go to IAM, search for IAM service, and then you will land on this IAM dashboard. Here on the user, click on create user to create a desired user here. I'll say S3 bucket test user, right? And then I'll say next at the bottom right corner. So I'll just say next. We'll create the policy, resource policy later, and then review and create. User name is S3 bucket test user. Permissions we'll add later. Say create user, right? So S3 bucket user is created. Now next what we'll do is we'll create a policy and then we'll attach that policy into this user. So we'll go to the policies here, create a policy. If you have a policy created JSON, then that you can paste it here directly. Let's try to do visually. Select S3 here, all S3 actions, read write permission tagging, right? Resources specific grant all and request condition. Next, policy name S3 bucket test policy, permission full access full resource, create policy, right? So now you can search S3 bucket. Yeah, so this is your policy. Now what we'll do is we'll attach that policy into this user. Go to the user, permissions, add permission policy, add permissions, attach policy directly. So here we can say S3 bucket. So this is our policy that we have created, and say next and click add permissions. So the policy got added to that user. Now you can see in this user we have this permission S3 bucket policy, and this policy says S3 bucket full access all resources, right? So this is the permissions that we have. If we want JSON, so this is the JSON version of it. Allow action S3 star resource star. Okay, so this is a policy that we have created. Now what we'll do is we'll create user access key and secret for this user so that we can use to access it. Now security credentials, create access key. So come inside the user. So let's go inside the user, click on the security credential, come down, to create access key. Create access key here. Click on create access key. Use case, command line, local code, application running in AWS, third-party service, application running outside AWS, others. So I'll say third party because we may want to use the credential in other application who wants to access our S3 bucket, right? Which is running outside AWS infra as well, right? So I understand. Click next. Description tag value, S3 bucket, access key, create access key. So this is my access key. Let's say I'm copying this, and secret, I'll copy that. You should keep this safe because this is critical. You should not expose these to anyone, otherwise they will have access to your resources, right? Friends, before we proceed in this video, I request you to subscribe this channel to grow Code One Digest family. Friends, I am creating a lot of quality videos on programming, coding concepts, design pattern and design principles, cloud and container technologies, but I'm not getting subscribers. I request you to like, share and subscribe this channel so that I can grow our Code One Digest family. Thank you. Okay friends, so as we have seen how to create S3 bucket, how to create user with policy and permissions to access S3 bucket. We have also created a client key and secret to access the S3 bucket. Now I'll show you how can you create a NestJS project to upload file to S3 bucket. I'll be showing you step by step how to create project, how to write controller, how to write service classes and how to run that program to upload file to S3 bucket. So you need not to worry. All the commands, all the instructions I'll be sharing in the description section of this video as well as in the GitHub repository. You can download the instructions file from GitHub repository and you can follow the command. Okay friends, so watch this tutorial till end. It is going to be very useful to you. Okay, the very first thing that we'll do is to create a NestJS project. To create a NestJS project, you would need a NestJS CLI installed in your local machine. If you don't have NestJS CLI installed in your machine, I will show you how to install NestJS CLI in your local machine. It is similar to installing any npm package in your JavaScript project. Once NestJS CLI is installed in your machine, then we'll use NestJS command to create a NestJS project. Okay friends, so let me show you that. This is my project directory where I want to create my NestJS JavaScript project. So let me see that if I have a nest command available. So as you see, I don't have nest command working. That means I don't have nest CLI in this project. Here is the command npm install -g @nestjs/CLI. This will install the NestJS CLI for this project. Let me enter this. As you can see, it is downloading the NestJS CLI, and once this is done, we will have a NestJS command working for us, right? So it is done. Let me check the version of NestJS. Nest -v. Yeah, so it's saying version 10.4.5 is installed. That means now NestJS CLI is available to me inside this directory. Now I'll use a nest command to create a new project. Now I'll use NestJS command to create a new NestJS project. It is always recommended to use nest command to create project because it creates a project structure for you. It creates all the files, supporting files required for your NestJS project, like from package.json to config.ts file and everything, right? So it is always recommended to create a NestJS project using NestJS command. So let me show you a command. We'll use nest new and the project name. So that is nest new and the project name, I'll say NestJS AWS S3. Okay, so it will create project with this name. It is asking me what is the package manager I have to use. I will be using npm. So it is creating, it is saying installation in progress. So it will be creating all those folders and files. It will create a source directory, it will create tsconfig.json, creating package.json file, and many more supporting files. So it is always recommended to use a nest command to create a project. Project is created and we can see the content of this directory. Let us go inside the project directory. These are the content of the project. It has package.json file, it has tsconfig.json file, it has source folder and node modules. So now what I'll do is I'll load this project into Visual Studio Code and we'll see the structure there. Also, once we load the project into Visual Studio Code, then we'll be installing few dependencies like AWS SDK library and also Multer to read and write the file. Okay friends? Okay friends, I have loaded the project in Visual Studio Code. As you can see here, I have a package.json file. Now here in these dependencies, we'll be installing AWS SDK as well as Multer to deal with the file. Apart from that, inside the source folder, I have this out of the box files created like appcontroller.ts, appservice.ts, appmodule.ts and main.ts. I'm assuming you know the basics of NestJS framework, hence I'll be directly writing the code inside a controller and service class. Okay friends, so this is my project structure. Let me install AWS SDK dependency and Multer dependency. If you see here, I don't have AWS SDK and Multer dependencies. Now we'll be installing those dependencies because we are going to use those libraries, right? So let me take you back to the terminal. Right, this is my project directory. Let me clear this. Yes, and this is my project directory, and I'll be installing npm I AWS SDK. So this will install me the AWS SDK dependencies. So if you see, it is installing all the dependencies. So this is done. Now let me install other dependencies, that is Multer. Here is the other dependencies, npm I -d @types/Multer. So it will install that Multer module. Yes, so this is done. Now let us see if those dependencies are added in our package.json. I can see AWS SDK is added here and Multer would have been added here. Yes. So these dependencies are installed. Now we are good to write our controller and service classes. Okay friends. The idea here is I'll be writing a controller which will take post request and will be sending a file via API, post API, post endpoint, and that file will be uploaded to S3 bucket. Okay, so we'll be writing a controller which will accept post endpoint, which will accept file as an input, and then it will pass that file to a service class, and then service class will be connecting to S3 bucket and upload file to S3 bucket. Okay friends, so let me show you the code of my controller and service classes. Okay friends, so here is my app controller.ts. I have modified the code of this controller class. If you see here, I have imported controller, post method, upload file module, use interceptor and logger. I am also importing file interceptor and app service. So inside a controller, the very first thing I'm defining a logger, and then there is a constructor. The most important part here is defining a post endpoint. Post endpoint, that is upload. Okay, so /upload will be my endpoint to call this function, and here it is accepting input of type file, and I'm using express.multer.file. That means it will accept a file as a part of this input, and I'm logging it here, that file received in a request, and I am calling a service class dot upload file function, upload file method by passing that file here. Okay, very simple controller, no fancy stuff, just receiving a file here and passing that file to a service class. But important thing to remember here is that we are using Multer inside our upload file function. Now let me show you my service class. I have imported AWS module, and that is coming from AWS SDK, the dependencies that we have installed. Right now in this in app service class, I have defined a logger, and now I'm initializing my AWS S3 bucket constant. So here, this is the name of my bucket. You have to replace this bucket name with your bucket name. Okay, and then I'm creating an instance of S3 object, new AWS S3. So this is coming again from AWS SDK. AWS.S3 is provided by AWS SDK. Inside that, I'm providing the access key ID and secret key. You have to provide your access key ID and access key secret that we have created in a previous step. Once you provide that, that means your S3 object is ready. Here is a function upload file that we are calling from controller, which is taking file as an input. I am reading a file, taking that file into a constant original name. Okay, I'm logging the file here, and then I'm calling a local function, this.s3 upload function, by passing file.buffer, that means the body of the file, my S3 bucket name, original name of the file, and file.mime type. Okay, so these 4 parameters I'm passing to this function here: file, bucket name, name of the file, and MIME. Now if you see here at the very first line, of this function, I am creating a target location where exactly I want to upload my file into bucket. So I am appending POC/Australia/ the name of the file which is coming as an attribute. That means the file will get uploaded inside a bucket. Inside a bucket, it will go to POC/Australia folder and then the file name. If I don't give this POC Australia, then it will just go and reside at the root location of the bucket. But I want to take file into a subdirectory, that is POC/Australia. Hence the file will get uploaded. Now we'll use this target location for key as an attribute. Key is the path where the file has to be uploaded. File needs to be uploaded. So key is the attribute where file needs to be uploaded. So we are taking the target location inside a key. Bucket will have a bucket name that we are passing. Body is the file that we are passing the file object itself. Content type we are saying MIME type that we are passing from here. Once this is done, we have initialized the params. Then we'll be calling this.s3.upload. This is a function coming from AWS SDK dependencies. Okay, so this.s3.upload function by passing a param dot to promise. Okay, so it will wait for this function to return and to have a response in this response object, because we have a promise. It will come back on this line to see a response. Once this is done, then I am printing a log here that upload is successful, and that's how we are coming out of this function. Simple, easy, few lines of code. You don't worry, I'll be providing these 2 files, controller and service, along with my package.json in the GitHub repository, so you can access it from there along with all the commands that I have shown you so far. So these files will be available to you in the GitHub repository, and reference of GitHub repository is given in the description section of this video. Okay friends, so now it's time for us to run this and validate if we are able to upload a file. Let me show you that. And also I'll be calling an endpoint from a postman, so I'll show you. Okay friends, so here is my S3 bucket where I'm inside the POC Australia folder. I'm in the Australia folder and I don't have any file here right now. So now what we'll do is we'll start our application. To restart our application, we have to run npm run start command. So start is a script here that we have to call by npm run command, and we'll say start. So let me show you that. I'll say npm run start. It is starting my project, my application. Yeah, so it says Nest application successfully started. Okay friends, so Nest application is successfully started. So now what we'll do is I'll be calling upload endpoint from a postman. So the endpoint that we have here is /upload, and it is running on localhost 3000. Okay, so let me open my postman and we'll call this upload endpoint. Okay friends, so here is my postman and this is the endpoint that I have created. It is of type post and http localhost 3000 /upload. Important thing to note here is inside a body I am providing a key name as a file, because in my code in controller I am expecting that input attribute name is file. Okay, so this name you have to give here. So I have given file. In a postman you have option to select text or a file, so you have to choose file. If you miss changing this to file, then your file will not upload and you will get error. If you select text, then your content type will change. So you have to be careful when you're selecting inside a body. Your key is a file, but your type should be a file, not a text. And now as soon as you select a file here, then in a value you will get option to upload a file or to select a file from your local machine. So click on that and then you can select any file that you want to upload. Let's say I want to upload this image. I'll select that. So a reference of the file is given in the postman. Okay, so remember it has to be of type file with a key name file, and you have to select any file. It can be image file or it can be your text file or any other file, right? And our server is up and running. Now what I'll do is I'll hit that postman endpoint and see what happens. Yeah, I got 201 response. That means it is created, and here is the detail. So you see it says the file is uploaded, and let us see a log. So it is my controller log. Receive request to upload file this, uploading file object this, and uploaded file successfully in S3 bucket. Now let us go to S3 bucket and see if the file is really uploaded there. So this is my S3 bucket. Let me refresh this. Yes, so it is uploaded. You see the same file flower jasmine is uploaded here, right? This is the timestamp. That means our code is working absolutely fine. So as you have seen, it's so easy and simple to create a project in NestJS to interact with S3 bucket. Similar way, the way we are uploading file to S3 bucket, you can write a program to download file from S3 bucket. You can write a program or a function to list down the content of S3 bucket. This demo is just a POC to interact with S3 bucket. Now in the same fashion, you can interact with S3 bucket and perform the operation of your choice. So let me summarize what we have done. We have created user, we have created policy with the permissions to access the S3 bucket. We have created access key and secret to access S3 bucket from outside. We have created NestJS project. We have installed NestJS CLI. Then we have used NestJS CLI to create NestJS project. We have loaded the project into Visual Studio Code. Then we install AWS SDK library. We have installed Multer library to deal with files. And then we coded for the controller and service classes. In controller, we just have one single endpoint of type post /upload, which takes file as an input and pass that file to a service class. Now in service class, we define our S3 bucket. We initialize the object of S3 by passing the access key and secret, and then we define a params which contain all the details: file, target location, bucket name, and so on, right? And then we are calling upload function s3.upload to upload a file. And the most important thing, in Postman, while testing this endpoint, you have to select the content type is file. Okay, it has to be file, it should not be text, otherwise your test will not work, you will get error. The code is expecting a object of type file, and you would be sending object of type text or string, then it will not work. Select a file from your local with the key name file and send a request and monitor your logs. Okay friends, all the code and instructions are provided in the GitHub repository. Reference of GitHub repository is given in the description section of this tutorial. Okay friends, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, so do subscribe to my channel to grow Code One Digest family. Okay friends, if you like this video, so give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for the more interesting videos. Click on the bell icon for the latest video notifications, and do not forget to share this video with all your friends and colleagues. This is very useful information for students, beginners, and software engineers. I am putting a lot of efforts in creating these contents, so please help me growing the Code One Digest family. Please subscribe to Code One Digest channel for the latest programming and technology related videos. Thank you.